The language of rebellion in The Handmaid's Tale. What if every single word you wrote could be an act of rebellion? What if the very act of forming a sentence was a dangerous clandestine operation against an overwhelming power? This isn't just a hypothetical. In Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, language is the ultimate battlefield. It isn't just a tool for storytelling, it is a weapon for control, a shield for the soul, and the last fragile thread of individual identity. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are embarking on a deep dive into the brilliant and terrifying linguistic and stylistic choices that make this dystopian masterpiece so chillingly powerful and persistently relevant. We will unravel how Atwood weaponizes words to build a world of oppression, and how her protagonist, Offred, uses the private, powerful act of narrative to silently, desperately fight back. Section 1. Gilead's language, the architecture of control. First, we must understand how the regime of Gilead operates. Its power isn't just maintained through guns and walls, it's cemented through a systematic assault on language itself. Gilead seeks to control reality by controlling the words used to describe it. This is achieved through several key strategies. First, the creation of new language. The regime invents neologisms and acronyms that sanitize horror. Think of the term particicution, a grotesque portmanteau of participation and execution. This word twists a brutal mob killing into a sanctioned communal event, draining it of its moral horror. Or pravaganza, a mass wedding framed as a celebration, masking a deeply forced and oppressive act. Second, and most famously, is renaming and erasure. Women are stripped of their names, their most fundamental identity marker. Our narrator is no longer a woman with a history, a career, a family. She is Offred, of Fred, a prefix denoting possession. This linguistic reduction transforms her from a person into a function, a state-owned reproductive vessel. Furthermore, the ban on reading is perhaps the ultimate linguistic control. It denies women access to alternative ideas, histories, and narratives, making them entirely dependent on the state's sanctioned story. Finally, Gilead co-opts religious language. It weaponizes biblical rhetoric. Blessed be the fruit, under his eye, to frame its tyranny as divine will. This makes dissent not just illegal, but heretical. To question the state is to question God. A brilliant and devastating psychological tactic. Section 2. Offred's resistance. The weapon of narrative. But Atwood doesn't just show us the boot. She shows us the spirit that refuses to be crushed beneath it. Opposing Gilead's public, controlling language is Offred's private, subversive narrative. Her first-person account is itself her rebellion. Her storytelling is fragmented. Her thoughts constantly flash back to the time before, to her husband Luke, her daughter, her job, her friend Moira. This isn't just reminiscing. It is an active act of preservation. It defies Gilead's command to forget the past. By holding on to these memories, she proves that their eradication is incomplete. Her voice is also deeply sensory and poetic. In a world that wants her to be a mere body, she reclaims her humanity through intense sensory detail. She describes the feel of butter stolen from the kitchen, using it to moisturize her skin. A tiny, sensual reclaiming of her own body. She notes the specific, oppressive shade of red of her dress, the smell of sweat and fear in a crowded room. This attention to detail is a claim to a complex human experience that Gilead tries to deny. Most importantly, Atwood establishes a stark chasm between Offred's internal monologue and her external dialogue. Out loud, she is compliant, uttering the required platitudes, "Blessed be the fruit." But in her mind, she is skeptical, angry, ironic, and terrified. This internal world is a sanctuary that the eyes cannot penetrate. The very act of telling her story, even if just to herself, even if into the unknown void of the future, is an act of defiance. It is her way of insisting, I am here. I existed. My story matters. Section 3. Symbols and Mantras. The deeper code. Atwood masterfully embeds deeper meaning into objects and phrases, turning them into powerful symbols that operate on a linguistic level. The most potent example is the Latin phrase scratched inside her wardrobe. Nolite te bastards carborundorum. Don't let the bastards grind you down. It's a flawed, schoolboy Latin translation, but for Offred, it becomes a sacred text. It is a message in a bottle from a previous handmaid, a sister in suffering. This phrase becomes a personal mantra, a gift of resistance passed silently from one victim to the next. It's a symbol that language can be a lifeline, connecting individuals and fostering solidarity against isolation. Even the color red is loaded with linguistic ambiguity. It's never just red. It symbolizes blood, violence, and shame. The handmaid's uniform is a scarlet letter, but it also represents fertility, life, and the menstrual cycle that defines her value. The word itself becomes a container for all these conflicting meanings, just as Offred is a container for the state's conflicting desires. These symbols show us that even when language is controlled, meaning can be subverted and reclaimed in secret, powerful ways. Conclusion. The ultimate warning. So what is Atwood's ultimate point? The Handmaid's Tale argues that the struggle for power is, fundamentally, a struggle over narrative. The first thing any totalitarian regime must do is seize the narrative is to control the language, rewrite the history books, and silence the dissenting voices. Offred's story is a testament to the fact that the human spirit resists this eradication. The act of wielding language, whether to control a population or to testify to one's own existence, remains the most fundamental form of defiance. This is why the novel remains a chillingly relevant warning. It reminds us to pay attention to language, to question euphemisms that sanitize violence, to challenge the rewriting of history, and to never, ever underestimate the revolutionary power of telling our own stories. In the end, as long as someone is left to speak, the bastards have not won. Thank you for watching. If you have thoughts on Offred's rebellion or your own favorite examples of Atwood's language, share them in the comments. And if you found this analysis powerful, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the literature that defines our world.